In the Murder Drone pilot episode, we are introduced to serial designation N, who is a very popular character in the Murder Drone franchise and uncomfortably relatable.
That's not true. Everyone tells me I'm useless and terrible.
However, despite his squad mates' claims, N is a very useful drone who is even better than his teammates. So without further ado, let's dive into why N is superior and others are inferior. Let's start off with this. Why is N supposedly useless? Well, I don't think it's because of his actions, but rather his personality. If you were to pause the pilot episode and read all the small text when N is slapped, we can see his personality trait is lovable idiot. Does this mean he's stupid? No, but rather he's socially stupid. He clearly is very talkative and gentle of a character when he isn't killing, and for his intended purpose of being a homicidal maniac, his personality doesn't really fit the criteria. Therefore, he would be neglected, ignored, and bullied by his squad mates. A lot. This was very unhealthy, and he clearly gets the memo of being called useless and terrible as much as his reboot slap. And the poor guy isn't given the respect he clearly deserves. This is to the point where he straight up says,
Overheating and dying? I guess I just want to be useful. I was given a job, and I always want to try my best.
And look at all the respect it's gotten you, N.
As a student who strives for success, this hits home uncomfortably well. A very popular saying / motivational poster reads, "Everybody is a genius, but when you judge a goldfish by its ability to climb a tree, it will believe its whole life that it is stupid." This is what we see in N. The constant verbal abuse makes him believe he is useless, to the point where he doesn't even acknowledge how good of a killer he really is. And I have 3 examples to prove how good of a killer he truly is. Let's start off with my first example of N being a skilled killer. In the first clip we see of him, he lands on the ship and drinks oil from his most recent kill before he crushes the head. If you didn't know, murder drones don't have proper cooling systems, so you need to drink the oil of their victims to cool their systems down. This is a discussion for another day, but to get back on track, it takes him 6 seconds to notice Uzi and spring into action. Instead of running up to her, he lands directly in front of her, causing Uzi to lose balance and fly into the air. If it weren't for Uzi pulling a total JoJo reference, she would have tumbled to the ground and would have been killed. Then N runs up to Uzi in her moment of shock and stabs her hand before yeeting her into a wall or debris. This would corner her as she couldn't climb or run around the obstacle in time before N would have killed her with a missile. Now, this is where N makes a mistake of yeeting her towards her.
Sick as hell railgun!
This was unintentional, and this isn't an example of N being an idiot, but rather being highly concentrated on Uzi, who is his target, and his target is not the weapon. This caused him to get shot, but not die, as he would regenerate his entire head. Looks like the plot armor is strong with this one as well. This entire fight scene proves that N is swift to attack his targets and corner them for a kill. But this is only one piece of evidence from 3 pieces of evidence scattered throughout the pilot episode. My second example doesn't come into much later in the episode. If you haven't seen my previous theory about Uzi's mom, I made the bold claim that Uzi unconsciously led a murder drone that wasn't only deadly, but intelligent enough to get past the doors. The reason why I said this is because of how N follows Uzi back to the colony instead of killing her. He had multiple opportunities to kill her off and destroy her weapon, but he didn't. Instead, he stalked her until she was in the colony and he had a clear chance of getting in. He holds the door open to which he can both see inside and so that his tail can fit through. When everybody was in shock, he gets slightly distracted before he identifies the main control panel of the doors and destroys it. Make sure this script doesn't get as long as it already is, I'll quickly sum up this massacre scene. N obviously won't let the smartass Danya live, so he quickly kills him. This gives everybody a running head start, but it's not like he doesn't count for this. He switches to a missile launcher and fires missiles to upset most of these characters' balance before he lands a direct hit. Then he leaps onto one, kills him, and starts drinking his fluid before he fires a laser cutter and cuts this character in half. After successfully killing them all, he jumps into the vents and hides in it. Not just so he couldn't get the jump on Uzi, but also so he could hide from her blast range. Finally, when he does get the drop on Uzi, he takes control of the situation and pins Uzi to the wall and quickly throws her weapon away. Although we all know what happens next.
Emotional damage!
If it weren't for V and J raining on N's parade, N would have most likely spared Uzi because he felt bad for her. My final piece of evidence is at the very end of the pilot episode, when N is forced to face V. Obviously, he's going to be very distracted due to some emotions.
Ah! My mind's in a weird place! Don't read into this!
What did he say?
Although he is able to hold her back, he was stuck in a very bad position. However, using some new knowledge, he distracts V for only 2 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Have fun repressing this?
But this is all he needs to give the final blow to V and tie her up with her own tail, meaning she risks hurting herself if she tried to untie herself. All in all, N doesn't just prove that he's a deadly killer, but very efficient, intelligent, and useful. I could even argue that he's straight up better than V. But then why is he viewed as useless in their eyes? Well, when comparing to J, who as far as we are aware is a basic killer, and V, an unhinged psychopathic killer who commits genocide every other day, it's hard to compare him to these people. But he has proved time and time again he isn't useless. For my concluding thoughts, I want to throw this out here. Maybe the reason why he was so easy to leave the company was because of his constant mistreatment. He literally is verbally abused on a daily basis, so him leaving is quite justified. And if this video didn't convince you that N is better than V, I don't know what will.